The coffee cup is spiders. The gun is spiders. The chair is spiders. I swear to whatever deity presides over this world, if this entire space station is one giant spider, I'm gonna scream. Or I'm gonna need a bigger wrench. Let's find out who's prey today, shall we, spiders? Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snek, bringing to you today another Snek Suite. Released in 2017 as a hard reboot of a completely different franchise and story, yes, I do plan to get to that game soon, so hold on for that. Prey 2017 takes the series in a bit of a new direction, that being up into space. There, we witness an exciting FPS action-adventure title that's one part System Shock, one part Prop Hunt, and one part Exterminator House Call. There are also two major DLC packs released for this title, Moon Crash and Typhon Hunter, and I'll cover those in extreme brief at the tail end of the review. So join me for a closer look. Taking place in the still semi-futuristic year of 2035, in a rather elegant alternate history timeline, wherein the JFK assassination failed and the space race began much earlier and with better funding than our timeline, we take the role of Morgan Yu, who comes in two convenient flavors, as seen here. We'll learn it's our first big day as we'll be joining the family business Transtar, which is presently headed by our older brother Alex. So we suit up, maybe fiddle around in Morgan's apartment to get a handle on the game's physics engine, which is always good fun, before heading to the roof to get a personal helicopter ride to the Transtar building. As an aside, I absolutely adore this opening sequence.
Ms. Yu, please make yourself comfortable and we'll be on our way. Transtar facility is just a short hop. 78 degrees, clear skies all the way. That's a nice view on the bay there.
But then we arrive to see our big bro, and we're ushered into some tests that are perfectly and completely normal, of course, and suddenly, a dude just gets attacked by spiders. Our facade good and broken, we find ourselves on board the Talos 1, a massive space station built and upgraded over the course of decades, and a hub for an infestation of jet black alien lifeforms known as the Typhon. Thus, we must survive our encounter and fight through the invaders and ultimately make decisions that will alter the course of the story for Morgan. And first off, this game looks amazing. The level of detail is staggering, and one of the things I personally found super cool was the nature of the art style of the Talos 1 space station and how it changes as you move section to section, and this is actually explained in story. It actually started decades before the game as a cooperative joint venture between the USA and the USSR, and different wings were developed at different times. So you get to see a mixture of styles, tastes, and decor as you travel around. And each of them has a distinct personality. Not just that, the enemies themselves have impacts on the environment. The level layouts reflect things like cubicles or med bays, but they also lend themselves well to the frenetic action segments of the game, and things like cube farms are broken up not just by computer consoles that you can access and hack, but also by having stations decorated to reflect the owner's personality. My personal favorite of these being a work area where, behind a movable barrier, is a faux snowman made from the glue cannon, with a face and hands made up of collectible items named Gluey McGlueface. Seriously, I just adore things like this. I love it when they do things that they didn't have to, and yet they did anyway. Audio-wise, this game makes my spine tingle in the best way. From the opening synthwave theme song, Everything Is Going to Be Okay, and every subsequent track that follows is absolutely astounding. If I had a few more slots in my top 10 game OSTs countdown, this would have found a way there for sure. And really, that's no surprise, as Mick Gordon, who did the OST for Doom 2016, also did the soundtrack for this game. So the same aggressive techno-rock metal hybridization is found here as well. Every track sets the mood perfectly, from tense and uneasy exploration to hectic and pulse-pounding combat segments, to the moments we get to jettison ourselves through space to find makeshift shortcuts. The music always satisfies. The sound effects are on point too, From the creepy mumbling of the humanoid Typhon phantoms to the dry delivery of Dear Brother Alex to the powerful eruption of shells from a shotgun, every sound effect and every voice actor in Prey delivers. Just absolutely delightful. Now, I will be the first to admit FPS is not usually my genre of choice. That is, after all, why this is the very first one to get covered here on the channel, Snek Sweet or no. I gotta say, Bethesda has a good thing going between Doom and Prey, as I love both. The overall gameplay experience is like the best parts of Bioshock and Half-Life got married, and the resulting baby was a terrifying jet black space spider that could masquerade as a coffee cup. From the subtle nuances of the animation, like Morgan tapping their foot along with the opening song, to aggressive wind-up of a wrench sailing through the air at Mach 2, everything reeks of atmosphere, tension, and style. And while I wouldn't exactly call Prey a horror game, in that Morgan carries a small personal arsenal at all times, and I didn't so much fear my enemies as I thrilled in the glory of combat with them, it has some horror elements, and each enemy is rigged to the gills with extras to keep the player on their toes. For example, the smallest enemies, mimics, are precisely the sort of thing a game designer can use to keep the player awake and alert. They can copy the form of nearby objects, barring obvious things like walls or items that are simply too large for them to copy, so thoroughly exploring each room is a good practice, especially in the early game when you're only armed with a wrench as a melee weapon and maybe a small caliber pistol and limited ammo at your disposal. And larger enemies are built to impress, with the phantoms who can warp short distances to disorient the player and attack both up close and at distance, or psychic commanders who can turn hapless victims into shields to assault you with, and much more that I dare not spoil. Not that it's all about the enemies, your hero is going to be a one-human wrecking crew in their own right. That is, in part, due to the wide variety of useful tools and gadgets you'll collect. One of the first being the glue gun, which you can use to freeze enemies in place to finish off at your leisure, or to build makeshift walls, platforms, staircases, and more. Really, you probably could have made an entire game based on the mechanics of this one tool by itself. But you'll also get some other neat things, like a grenade that specializes in flash-frying machine-type enemies, or one that sucks in all nearby objects, including props and enemies alike, and spits out post-processed usable materials. That one's one of my favorites, actually. Plus the obligatory power-up system, which in this game comes in the form of the neuromods. Not only are these cool because, like everything else in the game, their mechanical benefits tie directly into the story, but also because of the wide variety of things that you can do with them. Prey prides itself by giving players the choice of customization, as each puzzle or challenge can be met in multiple fashions. You have your customary standbys, like getting hacking abilities or ones that improve your damage with guns or melee, or even ones that will improve your suit, and I actually don't understand how those ones work since they have nothing to do with Morgan's body or mind, but whatever, it's cool, so it gets the pass, I guess. So what is a neuromod exactly? Well, you'll find your first pretty early in the game and immediately put it to good use in the most direct way possible, by connecting a mapping of someone else's brain directly into your own. Yes, the most direct route possible even. I can't look directly at that footage. That hurts just by watching it. Anyway, once that's out of the way, you get to inject yourself full of smartness. See, the neuromods have maps and scans of people's brains, which can then be injected into you. That's how the upgrade system works on a story level. You're not learning to hack that computer, you're getting a copy of someone's knowledge who already knows how. It's a minor touch that ultimately doesn't change anything mechanically, but I love the fact that so much thought went into the details, and the way that they tie into the story is rather brilliant. And it goes one step further. After going a little ways into the plot, you'll get introduced to Typhon neuromods. Tired of only the spiders getting the power to shapeshift into coffee cups? You can do it for yourself. Want cool psychic powers to turn the tables on the alien invaders? Absolutely available. So, not only are you able to upgrade mundane human powers, you can then balance new psychokinetic Typhon powers on top of that. Bear in mind that if humans see you using such powers, they'll immediately leap to the conclusion that you're a Typhon too and open fire on you. But as long as you maintain some decent level of forethought into how you plan to use said Typhon powers, there's really nothing stopping you from injecting some sweet, sweet alien juice into your eyeballs if you really want it. So you've been upgrading a bunch and have more weapons than you can count. What does the gameplay look like from there? A good question. Much like Doom 2016 and its sequel, your options expand the further in you go. It helps that this is set in space because Morgan has a vertical leap that's out of this world and can definitely do all the pull-ups. Moving around the station is not only quick and easy, but essential, especially as it's a good way to get drops on the enemy for those sweet, sweet 150% damage attacks. Plus, you get an honest-to-goodness jetpack, and you'll even get to go outside the station and fly around using it. Just traveling the area feels good, and the ways you can continually improve upon them just by progressing the game also feels good. Gathering supplies and upgrading, moving between new areas of Talos 1, and sometimes even doubling back through areas you visited previously to achieve objectives, and find useful tools to proceed. Best yet, since your toolkit is largely determined by what abilities you've modded into yourself, your game feel will be customized accordingly. Every area is perfectly capable of being completed by a hacker, as is by a sneaky person, or by a combat-heavy soldier type. The level design will even allow you to adjust on the fly, like finding alternate pathways through certain sections to make it easier to get to your destination, or using something like leverage to lift and move heavy objects or build a staircase with them, for instance. It's all about the application. Alright, if I go any further than this, I'll end up going into spoiler territory, so let's do a real quick overview of the DLCs. Moon Crash, the first DLC expansion, is a roguelike set a year after the events of the main game and starring an employee of the Moon Base. As part of our contract terms, our protag Peter dons a VR rig in order to experience the events of 5 employees who are forced to an increasingly insane set of circumstances in their attempts to escape. Not only do you need to clear each scenario, there are multiple ways to do so if the quest lines recommended to you are any tip-off. Not just that, you need to clear all 5 one after another. Not that you can't save and take a break between them, but that you need to beat each of them in sequence without dying. And while certain things, particularly the point system, which allows you to buy additional starting weapons and items, stay with you between runs, making each subsequent run easier, there is a deadly timer called the corruption meter which raises the stakes as time goes on. Not just that, but if it fills out completely, you'll just get ejected from the run, same as if you died. It's fiendishly clever, difficult, and a wonderful use of the base Prey gameplay mechanics. I quite enjoy it even if I am kind of bad at it. And Typhon Hunter is just Prop Hunt, but with Typhon. It's very clearly not running on the same base engine as Prey, and it shows in the worst ways possible as the game is quite clunky. I mean, I like the idea, but this sort of thing was already in Gary's mod well ahead of the time. It all comes off as a bit of a novelty at best, and while I did have 5 whole minutes of entertainment chasing after bots on account that nobody actually plays this game anymore, and I did find it an entertaining novelty, it was just that, a novelty. So altogether, was there anything I didn't like? Well, there's not going to be a sequel for one, they've already said as much, which is a bit of a serious downer. Fans of the original Prey will be disappointed that they basically have nothing but a name and some themes in common. But man, I really love this game, and despite only having been out for 3 years, nobody talks about it anymore. Which is a shame if you ask me. I adore it. If anything I said today makes it sound even remotely interesting, pick up Prey 2017. The entire bundle with both DLCs is available on Steam for just $40 even when it's not on sale. And I'd say I'd gotten way more than $40 worth of entertainment. And that's the final word on this Snek Suite. This has been the Typhon Snek. If you liked today's episode, you can let me know by clicking the like button. Mimic morph into the subscribe and bell icons if you want more content like this every week. Leave a comment down below telling me if you played this game or if this was all new to you. I'd be curious to know. For more from me, you can also check out the Tomodachi Bros Podbean and YouTube, where I team up with my closest Tomo Bros to talk anime, movies, and more. And be sure to join me here each week for more obscure reviews, indie excellence, and more. And I will see you there.